Will you repot yourself or will you shrivel? Let me say that again. Will you repot yourself or will you shrivel? Repot. That's what gardeners do when the plant's too big for the pot. And we'll explain in a minute why that matters. In the rose garden in Portland, there's a pine tree with three trunks. Three trunks. There's a parent trunk that's about 3 feet across, and then there are two trunks growing up from the parent trunk, each of them about 1 foot wide. That's the best picture of succession that I've ever seen, and you can still go see it. It's in the rose garden in Portland right now. And so succession is not about quitting. It's about growth. Succession is usually code for stepping down, stepping back, cutting down, getting less, doing less, dying, some word like that. And the pine tree has figured out that no, it's going to continue to grow. The trunk is growing. It's not dead. And growing out of it are the two smaller trunks, the kids. So let's move the idea of succession from quitting to growth. Now, how do you do that? The best way I know is delegation too soon. DTS. Delegation too soon. What's that mean? That means hand somebody else the job that you think you've got to do before they're ready. Way before they're ready. Way before they're ready. What's the risk in that? Well, they might mess it up. Yes, they might. But probably they'll figure out 85% of it. You can help them with 15, and you've got another engine under your airplane wing now moving you along faster. So the first thing you ask yourself is, what is the highest payoff activity that we aren't doing? Who can I give the responsibility for that to? Who can I? Yes. And then do that. Don't wait. Once you've handed them the responsibility, all of it, all of the piece, not a part, hand it to them and said, I'm looking to you to see that you get it done, then you can say, and I will be here to help you. True story. When I was a 28-year-old terrified MBA, I worked for a very large corporation in Chicago, 7,000 employees or something like that. And I was asked to develop a new bakery in Chicago. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I didn't even know what Danish dough was. I had no idea. And the president of the company said, there are two rules. Our bakeries have got to be as good as the best ones in town, and you've got to break even. And then he stopped talking. And I walked out feeling like the dog that had caught the bus. It forced me to go find people who had the technical skill, to find people who had the operational skill, to use advisors in areas where I didn't know anything about. I did a lot of stumbling around, and I ran into a lot of walls in the process, bruised myself up, and it was indescribably valuable to me. We built 29 of these bakeries before I moved on to another position, and they were, I think, the best in the country because I went around the country first looking for somebody to copy. There wasn't anybody. And it was a simple act of this president saying to a young man who was eager and green, here, go do this. And I had plenty of help. So you can do that right now. Here was what you get if you do delegation too soon. Number one, you get a jump in management bandwidth. Let me say that again. Jump in management bandwidth, meaning you have more capacity at play than you did before, and it doesn't cost much. Maybe a little stomach acid for you. Number two, it will produce a compelling vision. What I mean by that is you get new eyes, new heart, new thought on your situation, and some doors will open you hadn't thought of. And number three, it's really weightless weightlifting. What I mean by that is instead of you trying to do it and carrying the weight of it, you hand the weight over to somebody else, and you're a helper, which is way easier. I know, professional coaches in professional sports get ulcers and it's a high-stress deal. This is not what we're talking about. So if you want a weightless way to build your bandwidth, I'm selling right now, and this is the idea that I'm selling. One more thing. Your people can't learn just by watching you. They can learn. But the way you really learn to hit a golf ball is to hit a golf ball. You don't learn it by watching it on TV, and you all know that. So give them a chance, put the club in their hand, and say to him, let's go, I expect you to learn to play this game. That corporation that I talked about had a chairman who became president of the corporation when he was 32. 5 years later, he became chairman of the board when he was 37. 5 years later, he left the business at age 42 to become chairman of one of the major Chicago banks. And he talked about repotting himself. Those were his words. And I remember thinking, why would you do that? You got it, you got it made. You're making a lot of money. You're the head of this big business. You're well known all over the country. And his view was, if I don't repot myself, I'll shrivel. He said that. So there you have it from the horse's mouth.